Nice. What's up, Nick?
Not much. Just hanging out. It is looking icy and rainy outside.
Yeah.
Improvising for a melancholy day.
Icy and rainy. Where are you?
I'm actually in upstate New York currently.
Okay.
And coming back to Queens today.
That'll do it. Icy and rainy. It's nice here.
Yeah.
Today we're going to talk about to help our friends on the practice portal. How do I improvise? We've got you talking about this in a couple different ways. Of course, here in the practice portal and at Real Brave, we offer lessons online. Be sure to follow us at Real Brave Inc. on Insta, Facebook. You can go to our YouTube page at Real Brave Audio, and Practice Pad. Practice Pad is our online lessons where we're able to help you find your stage. You can meet once a week with a dedicated instructor, live just like this, and learn. It works. Okay, so Nick, talk to me about improvisation. Where are you taking us today?
Okay, so we have done a couple of these about different topics. We've done a little bit about improvising already. And the last one we've done, it was last month, but I believe we talked about a couple of things. We talked about some kind of super basic exercises or just ideas or games, however you want to call them, things you can do on your own that kind of help you just break into improvising. And I think a lot of people get nervous about it. It seems like a lot to kind of like jump into. But I always think that it's a lot easier than you might expect, and it's super fun, and it's a really important part of making art on your instrument, is being able to just sort of create in the moment and like actually, find your own voice in addition to your stage. One of the exercises that we had done was working with what we call a drone, which is just like a long sustained note. You just search like any note name and then put the word drone in on YouTube. You'll get a million free versions of it. And we had picked 3 notes. I think it was, I want to say. And we talked a little bit about the significance of them, but also the fact that for these purposes, it doesn't matter too much. This is just about hearing this drone. And just kind of enjoying like how nice and rich those pitches can sound, and just like playing with like putting them in different orders, different rhythms, and just like exploring a little bit. And then we also started to talk about improvising in different keys, which is a little more complicated, but also should not be seen as intimidating. We had talked about C major and a couple triads within that key. I think we talked about the C major triad and the G major triad, and then the D, actually it should be minor in the key of C, and then A minor. And just ways to kind of practice linking those little sounds that come from the scale together in a way that sounds kind of like pleasing. Just you can be creative with it.
Cool. I'm listening. Go. Keep on going.
Sure. So today we were just going to go kind of like a little bit farther down those 2 paths. We can talk a little bit more about improvising in a key or diatonically, as we call it. We can talk a little bit about what that means. So let's start there. I think we should stick in the same key of C major. Last session we were talking about, so we were kind of staying in open position, and today I'd like to try moving out of open position. This is actually kind of a killing two birds with one stone, because this will help you practice your bar chords a lot as well. They're also important. So last week we went over just this pattern that exists in major scales. One, or C major, is going to be major. The second step of the scale, which is D, we build a chord on it, it's going to be minor. Third step is minor. F, or the fourth step, is major. 5 is also major. 6 is minor. 7 is diminished, and we will talk about that a little bit more. And then you're back up to C. So to go over that one more time, and if you're watching this and that seemed like a lot of information, feel free to get like a pencil and pen and just write down these 7 things. All you have is major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, and back to major. And what does that mean? What are we doing with that? Why do we care? We care because this pattern applies for any major scale, which can apply to almost every song. Like most songs are constructed from this pattern, at least to some degree. And if they break from this pattern, they're usually doing so with intention. They're doing so for a reason. So it still kind of relates to the pattern. It's still good to know where it's coming from. We saw that last week, that if you just want to generate chord progressions that sound like they are cohesive and they make sense together, that pattern is a great place to start. We can do something like that. I think sounds kind of pretty and simple and nice, and that is all from that pattern that I just showed you. That was C major, 1 major, minor third, E minor, down to D minor, and then F, G, both major. There you go, we even got the graphic. And then back to 1. So again, this is just it's a useful thing to know about. This is a big part of how a lot of what we call tonal music is constructed, and how we get it to sound, like I said before, it's cohesive. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm here, man. I'm right with you. I'm trying to testing this idea of just giving you something on the screen while you're talking, and following along, rather being just the center of focus here. Although I do like to be on screen. Hi. All right. Okay. Here we go again.
Welcome back, Dad. All right. So yeah, ways to practice this. I would first start with just getting these sounds and getting these shapes under your fingers. It's going to be super duper helpful. So we want some kind of a close up. This is our major chord voicing. You can also do it like this if the bar is giving you a little trouble at first. And again, the awesome thing about guitar is that if you slide this around anywhere else on the neck, it's still going to work. If you want to play F major up here, you just find your F, and it's the same shape. So you just slide these parallel voicings. This is why things get so much more fun after you leave open position. You can just reuse the same things. It's much easier.
Any reason for the nail polish?
Nope.
Okay, just checking. Continue.
Not particularly. Anyway, so we've got C major here. This is our basic major voicing, and then we've got D minor up here. So that's up on the 5th fret. D minor is just kind of like a power chord, plus hooking this note with your 2nd finger. There you go. And again for E minor, we find our E, Use the same shape. F major. We have our major shape already. Same with G. Back to minor. Here's a tricky one. Diminished. And diminished is just like a minor chord, except this note, you have to move this guy down a half step. And we're not going to get in. Sorry, yes?
Now I was going to say diminished chords. When you look at the whole, let's see, let's get this back up on the screen again. Most people that are beginner guitarists or beginner musicians will understand the notion of like major chord, minor chord, and major, right? And then you get to the major chord, another minor chord, and diminished. Diminished is a totally different thing. I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, "Whoa, that sounds totally out of the sound of all the chords." But as you get going, your ear will be trained to realize that that's leading you to the one again, or like the next, yep. It's a nice resolution chord.
It is and that's why it is on the 7th degree, because 7 wants to move right back up to 1, B to C. So we've got our diminished, like you said, this is like a very magnetic transitional chord, and that's bringing us back. And that, actually, what you just said, is a perfect tie-in to just kind of generally what we want to think about in improvising. At least for me, is like the core of it, no matter what style you're improvising in, is always tension and release. There's always kind of like stillness and equilibrium, and then there's disturbance and moving somewhere far away from that, and then returning back. And that, with all things, like all sort of like chaotic and more confusing things, want to come back to some sort of equilibrium. And that's true. Thank you, Facebook user. I agree. And that remains true if we're playing like really simple tonal music, like if we're just going 1 to G, which is in this case kind of like a tension-y chord. We can even do G7. Super simple idea. Like there's just these transitions between tension to that kind of like nice home feeling. And if you want to know what that is, and to the basic user, there is just one note difference between major and minor. It's actually the third. We can take a quick pivot to that since someone's asking about it. Like we said, for our major bar chords, we talked about our minor bar chords on D, moving it up. But for these purposes, to see the difference, let's try playing a C major and then a C minor. Only difference is this guy.
And your hand position changes. So you have to really, for any instrument, your fingers are going to have to make some sort of major move there to get those notes.
Right. We kind of get off the bar, and then instead we roll up, and we can get this lowered third. That's the note that's changing. It's the third of the scale. The third of the chord, the third of the scale is always the main thing that kind of like determines tonality. Is that, and again, last time we did this, we talked about triads, roots, thirds, and fifths. If the third is major, pretty good bet you're going to have a major chord. If the third is minor, pretty good bet you're getting a minor chord. So yeah, it is really just that one note that can completely flip it on its head and give you a different sound.
All right, well, we're coming up on the 15-minute mark here. We want to pause here, and then we'll go to improvisation in a key.
Yeah, let's pick up a little bit with what I was saying about tension release, and let's talk about where that actually comes from, how to kind of achieve that, and ways to just deepen your understanding of what that means.
All right. All right. Well, hang in there. We're going to come right back with a part two of improv. How the do I improv? Improvisation? How do I improvise? Thank you, Dan. How do I improvisation?
There you go.
Stay right there. We'll be right back.